some of our players that have left and gone to other schools will sometimes reach back out to me. Sometimes when things are hard, they'll reach back out to me too. And I know some schools aren't practicing that much. They're not doing as much. We're still trying to develop. We're still trying to become a good football team. And I think we've come out of the spring really pretty healthy. There's been some things, but I think for the most part, we're as healthy as you can be coming out of the spring ball.
With the portal closing Friday, what is your week like, just managing that with your own locker room and obviously kind of tracking players that might go in that you might have some interest in?
You're saying in terms of our guys?
Yeah, have you had conversations already? I know there really haven't been a lot of public or any public injuries yet at this point, but what do you anticipate, I guess, within your own program in the coming days with the portal?
Yeah, I'm going to still coach the guys as if it's, 10 years ago, in terms of I'm going to meet with every player after spring and talk about what they need to do to become a great player, right? I think I put up a picture of Cam Jurgens the other day for the guys. I did like a photo display, and the first picture was him in like a spandex, Coach Frost camp, Go Big Red camp or something like this, and it didn't even fit. Then it's like him while he's here, then it's him at playing here, then it's him at pro day, and he just the transition, right? And I was like, did 16-year-old Cam Jurgens know that someday he would sign an extension, for $69 million? Or I don't know, but he stayed in the process. So I think my job when I meet with the guys after spring ball is always to tell them this is what I think you need to do. I'm accessible 24/7. I'm happy to talk to guys. I don't talk to guys about money. I don't think that's good business. I think my conversations with guys should be about football. That's Pat and Sean are here to talk about the financial piece. When there's a financial component, there's a reason why I have an agent. If I needed, if there's something in my contract, I don't want to, start having those conversations. I'm not adept at that. So yeah, guys can come talk to us anytime. Guys have come into me, and some guys have said, "Hey, where do you think I fit? Where am I at in the 105?" We've been honest with everyone. I told them I'm available here for them at any point this week. I kind of have two rules. I don't want to talk about any other players. There's when you start paying players. I didn't get into college football to be in this business of paying different people, right? And it is what it is, and I'm happy they're getting stuff, but it is hard that he's getting one amount and you're getting another, and so that can be very hard for guys. And so I'm not here to talk badly about another player on the team, and I'm not here to spend a lot of time talking about money. I'm here to talk about football. Pat and those guys, they'll talk about the money, but we won't talk about other guys. So it's but it's kind of just on a person by person basis. It's just if a guy wants to talk to me, if a guy's thinking about going in the portal, early on, the first time through the portal, I probably was more like, had a heart. I didn't know if I understood how exactly to do it. Now I'm sort of like, hey, come talk to me if you have any questions. Let me know. Let me know if I'll tell you where I see you guys at. I've had players come in and say to me, Coach, I got 3 head coaches calling my mom, telling her I should go here. What should I do? And I'm like, I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying that kids feeling all kinds of pressure, and me just doing my best to tell them, I know how it feels, and here's where I see you. So, it's kind of fluid. I'm giving kind of a long-winded answer. I apologize, but there's no set way to do this in my mind in terms of each player. So it's just kind of on a case-by-case basis, but we do meet with every player after spring to talk about, what they need to do. Even if you're in the 105, even if you're a starter, you're trying to accelerate and develop, right? And so, Deshaun Singleton's trying to move up in next year's draft. So I sat down with him and showed him all the things from last year I think he can improve upon. So I think that's my job from him to a guy that's, the 105th guy.
Speaking of the NFL draft, there's an opportunity for maybe 5 guys, 6 guys to be taken this week, and that would be a representative big jump for this program in recent years. How do you feel like you guys have put players in position to move on to the league? And I wanted to ask specifically about Fedoni. He took a risk, obviously, taking a chance going to the NFL draft now when he could have come back, and it looks like he's pretty much a consensus NFL pick.
Well, I think it's very important to say that most of those guys were brought here by Scott Frost and his staff. Okay, so I think that's very, very important to say, and his strength staff and all those people that were here. So, Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmacher, Isaac Gifford, those guys were brought here. Fedoni, those guys were brought here under that staff, So I know the impact like Coach Beckton had on Thomas, just the relationship that he had. So I think that's important to say. We took an approach when we got here. Everybody that was here, there was no like, well, you're old guys and new guys, you're our guys, right? We try to take that approach. I think we've tried to develop. I think Corey, the people downstairs, I think do a really nice job. I think the thing that we're trying to get done is we really, really want our players, when they go to the NFL, to be pros. As I tell them, when you're in year one, I want you to be in year 3 mentally, if that makes sense. When other guys are trying to figure out like how to take notes and how to learn all this information, like we've put them in an environment where year 1 is actually year 3, and they're further ahead than and so we've had guys like Ty Robinson spoke to the team. He talked about, he went to the Senior Bowl, and day 1 he was 3rd team, and day 2 he was 1st team. Because he knows how to practice. He knows how to take care of his body. He knows how to, as he's gone to the interviews, taking notes and those things. So I'm going to be really, really excited. I love that group of guys. I love the first group that was here. They took a chance on me and our staff, and they stayed. And, some of those guys are like, Fedoni. My wife and 2 daughters love Thomas Fedoni. I mean, there's always been a connection there between them. And our dog, Nala, so Thomas has a dog, Rambo. We have a dog, Nala, and our dog tore her ACL. And Thomas was getting ready to go down to Florida, and I said, I tore ACL. I got to get to the doctor. And I was leaving town, and he literally was was driving to our house. He's like, I'll take the dog to Omaha for you. That seems like a little thing, but like usually when they're kind of done playing for you, they're kind of done playing for you for a couple of years, and they come back around. There's no one more loyal than Fedoni. So I'm excited for him. He's going to get drafted, I think. I've got more calls on him. He's an unbelievably freaky athlete. He took probably the toughest shot to the knee. I mean, when I saw it, I almost I saw the practice rep. I almost threw up when I saw it. No disrespect to the kid who did it. I've just never seen anything like it. Sometimes I hear some vitriol on Twitter for that kid, and it's like, why? Because he was a 5-star, and we wanted a little more. That's tough. I think he's an amazing, amazing young man, and I encouraged him to go to the NFL. I was one of the guys sitting there saying, I remember I called Matt Nagy at the Senior Bowl, and I was like, if you can get him in the Senior Bowl, I think we're gonna tell him to go pro. And he was like, why? Because I just didn't want to see him have another knee. Like he had 2 of the toughest injuries, and he's fought back, and he's carrying that on his shoulders, and he's so loyal, and he plays hard, and his best football's ahead of him. So I'm excited for him. You guys know how I feel about Ty, Nash. I mean, Giff. I think Giff really helped himself at Protege. And the guys have come in like MJ Sherman, like whoever gets MJ, they're gonna love him. They're gonna appreciate him. Tommy's still battling back from the foot, but Tommy will be somewhere. And Jamal Banks, Isaiah Nayor, I would absolutely take chances. Johnny Bullock. So I'm probably forgetting a guy or 2, and I don't mean to, but Ramir Johnson to me would give people a run for their money, man. So I think it's just a great group. It's hard to find a lineman. Ben Scott had a great pro day. Bryce Benhart's had a storied career. He knows how to practice. So I hope the guys get drafted. I always send them a note. Hey, this is just the beginning. And what we need, going back to what I said before, is when the guys get there that they're pros, they know how to do things, and then people start saying, hey, go get a guy from Nebraska. Like if you get a guy from Nebraska, they know how to practice. They're going to be X, Y, and Z. And then, 4 guys drafted or 6 guys becomes 8, becomes 10, becomes 12, and then, they know that when they get someone that they hang around. So Phelan Sanford heading up to Saskatchewan right now, right? He was through the Raiders through 8 games. And now he's going up to Canada to play. We just need our guys going to the next level, building a reputation for what it means to be a Husker, what it means to be a Husker at that level. And that will beget more people coming here. And if I forgot anybody's names that, for the seniors, I apologize. But guys should take a chance on our guy. Guys should take a chance on Bushini. He punted in this wind, in this environment here. They should absolutely give him an opportunity and see what our guys do.
How many quarterbacks might we see on Saturday? Is it just
probably 4? Yeah, Dylan and Jalen will do the skills challenge stuff. They'll compete in the skills challenge stuff, and then Latif and the other guys, Davila, Bodie, and Longville, they'll play the game.
In the vein of guys getting to the pros, you'd mentioned Cam and his extension. Just how proud are you of him, and what could having a player like that visible in the league do for this program?
Well, so the thing, I put up all those different steps for Cam, and I made the point of, he's back here training, right? So he's here for his rehab. But I thought one of the coolest things for Cam Jurgens was, I brought up before how he changed positions when he got here, the trust, he developed, he grew. But what I like is that he played. There was a quote after they played one of their playoff games. He was playing. Obviously, he was hurt, and then Jason Kelsey, who was Hall of Fame center, who he replaced, called him a warrior. Said, "Hey, he's playing hurt. He's a warrior." And so, to me, I think the message always is, "Hey, your character comes first." We all want the prizes of life, but they usually come at the end. So you go through this whole process that Cam Jurgens has gone through of development, but it's also the character that he has had and shown that, when needed, he played hurt, he played banged up, sacrificed his body, had to have surgery, and then he ends up getting he got a bag, So, but it's also the respect that comes with that, to me, when you get an extension like that, it means people truly respect you, and so I think that's just good. That's good professionalism to have around here. I walked out to practice, and Nash, Giff, and Tyre, they're walking. They're out to practice and they're going in to work out. So my goal is we'll have a ton of NFL players come out of here the next 6, 7, 8 years, and I want them in the building as much as possible.
What would you say is something that Dylan is doing better now in his spring camp than he was fall camp heading into last
Everything.
season?
I mean, Dylan's he's 10 steps ahead of where he was, and where he was pretty cool. Even like a day-to-day when there's no pads and you're doing all these 2 minutes, the defensive line can knock down the line. There's no pads in the pockets, and his movement in the pocket, I think, is excellent. His ability to play the next play and move on, his checks, his knowing what he's seeing coverage-wise. Like I said, we're playing a lot different coverages, and maybe we've added some more coverages, and so I think he's able to get through all the coverages. And I've really enjoyed watching him coach the other quarterbacks while they're out there, right? So, Glenn's over there with the other quarterbacks, kind of getting them to play, going through the reads and all that, and then whether it's Jalen or TJ, they're behind, and he's, Dylan's back there, and he's reminding him of things, or we had a weird situation, 2-minute situation today, and he got in the huddle for the first group, and then he got in the huddle for the second group. He's like, "Hey, 12 seconds, we have 3 timeouts. Catch the ball." So I think just the situational awareness. I think he's doing all of those things at a really high level.
Matt, you've talked about how much you've emphasized the 2-minute this spring. Why has that been such a point of emphasis, and how have you seen your group develop there?
Yeah, I think we've done it. I think we've always tried to do it. I just think with where we're at right now, you go back to last year, it's kind of a unique thing. Like Dana does all these studies, and our explosive play percentage was pretty on par with a lot of other good teams. It was more, which means our routine plays aren't always great. So we talked a lot about, hey, just making routine plays, and that was touchdowns in the red zone, right? CFP teams, the ones out of our conference, were all 70+ touchdowns in the red zone, where we were 50 some. So we've emphasized that a lot, and then obviously we've had the ball a lot with a chance to go win the game, right? And so continuing to develop that, but I think it's good for our defense. It challenges communication. The only thing you can never, ever replicate is just the pressure of those moments, right? We're out there today, and if you don't score, or if you do score on defense, they do score on defense, it's kind of aw shucks, and you walk off the field. When you're in those moments, in the game, your heart rate's going really fast, but in terms of the mechanics, the mechanism, and all that, I think we're repping it a ton so that all the players can grow and develop, and just to give you an idea, I said something the other day, I think Sam asked me about it. I said, this is the kind of team I've been waiting to coach. We threw an interception, unfortunately, for the offense, great for the defense. And there was one early, and a kid ran it back, and it was the end of the game. You should just get down, right? And then later on, we did the same thing, and another guy ran a little bit, and then all the defensive guys kind of ran out, screaming like Sierra, and then we're screaming for him to get down, get down, get down. And I started kind of walking over there, and I'm just minding my own. Everyone assumes the worst with me all the time, right? And Dylan was like, let it, they got it, coach, they got it. And I was like, I'm with you, I got it. I won't say anything. But I guess my point is they're coaching each other, and they're coaching each other on the details. And so that only comes with reps, it only comes with time, and it comes with a great staff, right? You're getting situational awareness every single day in Mike Eckler's meetings. I mean, he's teaching situations as it relates to special teams. Butler and Dan are doing the same thing, and I know our position coaches are. So, we'll just have to follow through by continuing to rep the drills.
How much is Saturday a recruiting event in comparison to the previous 2 end of spring scrimmages that you've had?
Probably less. Probably less. Because last year we did an official visit around this weekend. I think we've amplified some really cool things. I think this June we've been able to. I think the 7-on-7 camp that we're doing is going to be just a game changer for us. The more people we get on campus, the more people that go back and spread the good word about, hey, this place is just different. So, it's been about getting people on campus. We've had a ton of people come through already, so that's been great. But I think this weekend would be, there's some really key players, don't get me wrong, but it's just not the amount, that we have had in weeks past. And then obviously, you're watching spring games all across the country, the stadiums aren't all full. It's just a different environment. But it'll still be a really cool environment. It'll be good football. They'll get a chance to see our players interact, and if they want to, they stick around. They go watch soccer game, watch the volleyball game, which I know will be amazing. And I'll say one more time again, I'm really excited to watch the women's flag game before our game. I think the fact that it's UNL students and it's Midland, right? Midland. So it's a lot of young ladies from Nebraska, women from Nebraska that are playing a sport that's going to be in the Olympics here. I think it's pretty cool.
Anything else?
All right, guys.
My hair crazy? A little bit.
Questions for Jacob?
Hey Jacob, before you were gonna walk on at Nebraska, what were your options and kind of what were you gonna do before you got the call from Nebraska?
Yeah, before Nebraska, I was considering taking a path with rugby. I had started rugby my sophomore year, really to stay conditioned for football, fix up some tackling techniques. Before I got that call, I was going to go to West Point, play rugby, and under Coach Sherman, possibly play football in the off season if it would worked out.
You rugby punt?
I don't rugby punt. I don't know if I can boot it like I could a couple years ago, but maybe I'll talk to Coach Eckler about that.
What was it like for you to hear like the stuff that they made public here, the video that Nebraska put out? I'm sure there was more to it than that on the field, but for you to hear the praise that Coach Rhule had for you within the team, like when he's talking to the team and saying, I can't even have this guy out there with the twos. What's that like for you?
Yeah, out on the field, Coach Rhule, he was. It was really nice to hear those kind words in front of the whole team. That meant a lot for me to hear that from my coach. We have a great relationship, and so for him to say that in front of the team, really meant a lot, and it showed how much he trusted me. And I just appreciate those kind words.
What did your close family, friends, what was their reaction to hearing news that you got?
Right after practice, I called my mom and my dad. My dad was working, so I couldn't get him right on the phone. But my mom picked up the phone, and she was on FaceTime, and I told her about the news, and I was really excited about it. And then she started crying right away, and I was trying not to be emotional. I wanted to stay strong for her, but between her and I, this was something I was really shooting for. I was really striving for. Years ago, when I was walking on here, and I was not gonna go to West Point, which is free school, I told my mom that I appreciate her and that she was going to let me have this opportunity to continue to play football, which I love. and that I was going to get a scholarship so she wouldn't have to pay for my school. And that's, I think, why it became so emotional, because it was just like me grinding and calling her and checking up on her and telling her the news of how I'm doing. And then finally the best call was that day, and I got to tell her that I got it, and it was done.
Coach Rhule mentioned you weren't like on the roster or the fall camp roster at the start last year. What were you thinking at that point, and what kept you going? Did you still think I'm close to breaking through here?
Yeah, that beginning of this fall, it was a mix up where I was in the 105. I was on in fall camp, but I had a head injury one day, and I got kicked out. And there was a mix up between who was going to be taken out of the 105, because another teammate also got hurt that day. And so they mixed up me being kicked out of the 105. And like 24 hours later, they figured it out, and I was back in it. And at that moment where I was taken out, it felt heartbreaking. I was definitely really scared about my future with the team not being in the 105. And but Troy Vincent was there with me when he told me the news about it was just a mix-up and I was still back in it. And he was really supportive and helpful, and it was just a little scare, but I was back in it the next day.
How much of a role model is guys like Luke Reimer and John Bullock been for you in terms of being linebackers who are roughly your size that excelled at Nebraska?
Yeah. John Bullock was somebody that I looked up to since day one. He was also a former walk-on, and he's just a gritty guy. He was also a really great guy. He and Snodgrass and Nick Henrich were always helpful with me. I would always ask them for something. I'd have to ask them separate questions because I didn't want to seem like I was too annoying to them. But John for 2 years was always like a mentor to me, and I always looked up to him and watched his style of play, try to pick up things that he did well. And like you said, we're similar sizes, so I tried to excel at what he was good at and learn from him as much as I could.
Made such a jump in the last 3 months?
I think my preparation, I meet with Dr. Stout quite often, and we just talk about mentally attacking everything. And we use like these trigger words between us of like what's next, obviously is a team one, and then send me from the book of Isaiah, chapter 6. It's like for me to realize that I'm capable of doing this, and I'm meant to be here for a reason. So send me. I can do anything through God, and that's just kind of how I view things. And I prepare myself mentally before each practice, and I try to remember that this is a blessing, and it's a blessing to be out here. So,
What prompted you to make that dramatic switch from going instead of West Point and rugby to Nebraska and football?
I've played football all my life. My two older brothers played rugby. One played for the Eagles, and so I kind of wanted to do my own thing. And yeah, I loved the opportunity Nebraska had. They have great facilities here and great fan base. Another thing was I was in a boys choir a long time ago, and this was like a God moment, my mom calls it. I was in a boys choir, and we toured Nebraska when I was like 10 years old, and we would sing around all of Lincoln, and we would go to Colorado, and it was a big tour. And we actually toured this facility when I was about 10 years old, and we had photos of me running out onto the field when I was a kid. So it was like a God moment. How could I pass this up kind of thing?
What's it been like watching some of your teammates too, who maybe they're not guaranteed to be on the 105, and they just kept going with it, and obviously they're going to be out there Saturday?
Yeah, it's hard to see them because they work so hard, and I try to be there for them. I try to help them out, go through plays, talk to them, use things that when I was struggling with this specific detail, I would use my techniques, how I figured to get around it. I try to teach that to them. But everybody's been working so hard, man, and it's hard to see this is where we're going with the NCAA and the new rules. I just do my best to try to help as many as I can, and hopefully every single walk-on non-105 member can play really well during this upcoming game and make themselves get a spot. So,
What do you think of Butler's defense, the way he calls defense?
It's very aggressive. I like the fact that he blitzes me, and I've been able to utilize those opportunities to blitz to get better. I love how hands-on he is with the defense too. He's always in our learning periods. He's always there to teach us things for any scenario. So if we have any scenario, it's always covered with Butler. It's very similar to what we did last year, but obviously he's got his little tweaks to it, and I'm excited to see how it goes this upcoming season.
Feels like he puts a lot of emphasis on playing the ball the right way, like
Mm-hmm.
you know, hand placement and
Mm-hmm.
hand fighting and all those things when the ball's right there. How has he kind of tweaked that at all?
We have specific drills to reach for the ball when we're rushing the passer. So every time you see our arms go up as we're running by the quarterback, we're emphasizing small details like that. Where when we come free, we're gonna rush, break up the quarterback's arm and make a forced fumble. Those little details that he taught us, I can't wait to see come season to work out.
When did you maybe start to feel like you started to belong on the practice field? Like, did that take a little while to accomplish there?
I belonged right away. I knew what I was capable of. I knew what I could do. Coach Rhule never made it seem like I was a walk-on. He never made it seem like somebody else was a starter, scholarship guy. We always were treated equal. Same with Coach White, same with Coach Butler, same with Rob. Everybody treated me the same, and it was just me having to understand that I am just as good as John Bullock. I'm just as good as all these guys that were ahead of me playing really well. And that I myself have to believe it before everybody else can believe it. My family believed it. I have to believe it. And that's kind of how I've kind of come to realize, like, this is where I stand and this is how good I can be, and it's how I've been able to do so well these past couple months.
You mentioned how it's hard to see, some of the guys, fighting for roster spots right now, and with the 105, how, I guess, like, frustrating is it for you to know that in the future there may not be many other journeys or stories like yours, just because that's the direction that the sport is going in?
Like, no more walk-ons to scholarship players. Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
in the future, how frustrating is that for you, just because you've been
It is frustrating because there are a lot of guys who work hard and can be can create a story like I've created, John created, and it's unfortunate that football won't become that anymore with these new rules. I think it is just frustrating really to see how that's gonna unfold.
What do you think are, I guess, like the benefits if something were to, I guess, miraculously change or whatever in the future to allow more walk-ons, more spots?
More benefits for walk-ons to continue. Yeah, people get their shot, people get their opportunity. Through high school, somebody could have had injuries or something tampering with them and their ability to not get good film, but they're still really good players. And to eliminate the walk-on is just you don't get those gritty guys to just fight for what they know that they can do. And it's unfortunate that's where it's going. I just hope some of my players, my friends, my buddies get to sneak right in there, because I know some of these guys are capable to be a scholarship player or a guy in the 105, and I love to see them succeed. So.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, thank you.
All right, questions?
Amari, coach has talked about how much depth there is in the secondary. What do you see when you look around at that unit?
Extremely depth. We're all talented. We're all competing for the starting spots. And I mean, we have a lot of guys that's wanting to compete for that starting spot. So I feel like we're all competing at the highest level to get that. So.
Just go sit here about Coach Snow talks. You listen. What's it been like working with that coach?
He's great. He's great. He knows ball. Obviously, he knows a lot about the game of football. So just listening to him, all that he has to offer. So I feel like it's always important to listen to Coach Snow for sure.
just being a part of that rotation and traveling to some road games last year, just what did you kind of learn from that experience?
Obviously I had my redshirt year last year, so just seeing like the experience, like what it is to take to play at the highest level. I mean, I feel like I got a great feel for it now, so I'm looking forward to competing for that starting position.
Was there a moment where Matt Rhule was walking off the field with you last year, kind of explaining, "Hey, this is going to be your deal next year"? What game was that?
Oh, I believe that was Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, you're right. If he had a moment off the field, he was just pretty much telling me this is what it takes, and I'm going to be in that same position. So,
Is there when the coach kind of pulls you aside in that moment after kind of what had probably been, a long season and not playing very much? What did that mean to you, and how much confidence did that give you?
it meant a lot, obviously, and it's still a lot of confidence within me because he understands what it takes. He understands. He believes in me as a player. So I feel like there's still a lot of confidence in me for sure.
Who was maybe the guy that on the team that you're like, all right, if I want to know how to do things right, that's the guy that I'm kind of watching, the older guy?
Sierra Wright for sure. Sierra Wright. He's very consistent in his work. He's very technically sound. Obviously, he's an older guy, so just learning from him and competing with him, I feel like that's a guy for sure.
What's allowed you to most feel comfortable in Lincoln, being a guy from South Florida, where different life there?
Just the community here. That's the reason why I kind of committed here, as well as the coaching staff. But the community is very welcoming, so it made my transition here very smooth. So everyone's welcoming. Everyone's like a big Husker fan. So like you can walk around the street, they know your name. So it made my transition here very smoothly. So.
What role did the others who came in your class from that same part of the state of Florida with you? What role did they play in kind of making the whole thing easier to over the past year?
And a big role. I mean, obviously we wanted to come here and change the program. We made a promise to what we're going to do when we got here. So I mean, obviously them coming here made the transition here extremely smooth as well. So.
Is there a guy in that group that you're most close to?
All of them. Yeah. All of them. Yes, sir.
What sticks out about Coach Addison and his, what he tries to get out of you guys, the way he coaches you?
He's very hands-on. He demands the best out of each and every one of us. He believes in all the players in that room. He knows a tremendously lot about the game of football. So just listening to him and what he has to offer, I mean, he's going to put us in the best position to succeed.
There's a moment when Bauer was just in here at the practice the other day. Coach Rhule, what's that like on the field when there's something like that?
I mean, it's amazing. He put the work in. Just seeing that, all the work that he put in, and just stay consistent with it. He never asked for anything. He just stayed true to the process, and just seeing him earn that, it was a great feeling to see for sure.
Is there anything you've been focusing on personally in practice this spring to take that next step as a player?
Staying consistent, being confident in my work, being technically sound, and all my fundamentals. And, that's for sure.
Are you on one specific side?
No, not one specific side.
Kind of work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, who do you kind of work with? Like, what other defensive backs are you kind of working with?
Sometimes it's me and Donovan Jones. Sometimes it could be me and Andrew. So it's a variety. We kind of get mixed up in that rotation. So.
I think Andrew played at Idaho, now he's here.
Yes, sir.
What's he been?
Very competitive. Very competitive. He cares about the game of football. He wants to compete. So he demands the best out of each and every one of us. So.
When Donovan played in that pinstripe bowl and he played well, was that kind of a motivator for you? Or like, I got to step my game up too?
I mean, of course it's going to motivate you. But I mean, we're all competing for that spot. I obviously want to see all my teammates succeed at the highest level. So I mean, just staying consistent in my work, worrying about my day-to-day process and what I can do to step on the field. So.
Anything else for Maury?
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Questions for Adam?
What are your expectations for Saturday? Obviously, the veterans and starters aren't really going to play in the event, but I mean, what are you looking forward to about it on Saturday?
Oh yeah, I'm just excited to be out there and be a great teammate, help coach the other guys on their assignment. Also, just some of the events we got going on. Some guys are injured and not able to be out there with us, but just having the opportunity to do things like a wing eating contest is pretty cool. So.
Are you doing anything?
Nah, I would be in the wing eating contest, but all the old linemen wanted to be in it, so I just let them do that. So. Rocco sounded pretty confident, so I mean, if he's out there, I'm pretty sure he'd be good at it for sure.
With the women's flag football game, did you coach in an event up in Minnesota like that? Are you excited about that?
Yes, sir. I was just back home last weekend, and it was the first ever flag football women's game, a tournament thing on Bloomington Kennedy High School. One of my coaches ran it, so he kind of invited me out there. But it was really, really fun, and I'm really excited about women's sports in general. Starting to see that to rise, and just seeing that is just big for me. And I know that it's becoming a thing now out here, so I just want that to take over the world, and just shows the power of women's sports. I'm really excited for women's sports.
I think we talked to you before spring.
Yeah.
What do you think of this team now, a couple months later? What do you think of it coming out of camp?
I'm really excited about our team. I feel like we took a lot of steps forward. We've grown. It's a great brotherhood here. And I'm just really excited to get to work with them in the fall. But I'll just say we took that next step as a team. It's more of a player-led team now. Rather than it coming from the coaches, a lot of us doing the leadership part. So I'm really excited for that.
When do you feel like that shift started to happen with this group? Because, you guys lost some really good leaders who go into the NFL, but when did that shift happen?
I'll say like a couple weeks in, some of the training things that we did, had some of the Navy guys come in and do that, the accountability part from there. I think we took a lot of lessons from what they told us and taught us, and now you can kind of see it from the players. A lot of the things, I know it's different going to war and doing all those things, but just learning a lot of the mental training that we've been through, the mental stuff, whether if that's just like learning a few things about breathing, or whether if that's just like having mental toughness. But as a team, we've grown mentally, and I think that's what we've started to see now as guys leading, being a mentally tough team, and it's going to be a hard team to beat. Yeah, they came in, and yeah, man, shout out to them. They did a great job with us. They had a couple days with us. Just in that short amount of time, we learned a lot. I took a lot of notes from that as well that I'm starting to use in my running back room and just being a leader in general. So.
Did put you through the pool thing?
Yeah, we had to go underwater, switch a hoodie underwater, give it to your partner, and then they put your hoodie on, and then you come back on top of the water. We had to tread water for a long time. Some of us couldn't swim, so it was really interesting. So, yeah.
You've been with Coach Rhule the whole time for 2+ years. What kind of an appreciation do you have as a player for how he's had to adapt? College football's a lot different now. Just this year, but especially if you consider 2023 to today. What's your as a player, like, do you pay mind to that, what your head coach is doing outside of the practice field?
Yeah, and I'll say I do, and also everybody else on this team. Coach Rhule's done a great job. His job's not easy. I don't know, it'll be a tough job for me to do. So he's took that step, and he's became a really, really great players coach, and he's, made sure that as a team we're doing the things that we need to do. Whether that's on the field or off the field, the accountability aspect of making sure we show up to class, class or any meetings is just as important as football. So he's taught us a lot of life lessons and not just football. We can call him up about anything. I'm sure like 10 years down the road when, somebody about to get married or, somebody has a incident, I won't hesitate to call Coach Rhule because he's brought that to our program.
What's it out about the other running backs this spring? What have you seen from those guys in your room?
Yeah, those guys have been growing really well. Guys like Quinnen and Mackay, they've been taking steps forward. I'm excited about, even Connor Booth, man. The first week he came in, he was really hesitant and, he was kind of just figuring out things. But now you kind of see him out there and he's flying around. So that just shows that he's taking the coaching. Coach EJ is going to coach us really hard, but he wants the best for us. So at the end of the day, seeing that progress has been really great. And the room has just grown in terms of just knowing football and just playing fast now.
You see that same urgency? Like, you always have that urgency, like, I could be the next guy up.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that from others?
Yeah, I am. And like I said in my other interview, I'm not doing my job if I'm not setting those guys up to go in the game and make an instant impact. So yeah, I'm excited for that, but we just got to keep growing. You know, it takes all of us. It doesn't just take one person. So down, you know, game 8, game 9, down the stretch, we're going to need some of these younger guys and guys to step up. So
How much do you like Holgerson's offense? And he's got a lot of trust in you. He really likes you.
I love it, man. I love it a lot. And, you know, like I said before, it's really simple. You know, the game has slowed down to me a lot now. I'm able to coach a lot of other guys, be that leader for them. But I just like his offense just because, you know, everything's simple and everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do. We know if a play doesn't work out, it's on us. And then we run routine plays every day in practice. Those are going to translate to the game. So just keeping it simple and routine plays every day. And we've been getting a lot better as an offense, more efficient. And you're going to see that this season.
Out of curiosity, with you being from Minneapolis, how familiar or close are you with Kendall Blue coming to basketball?
Man. I'm glad you asked that. That's my boy. I was just talking to him just before this, and I'm really excited about him. We grew up playing AAU together. We played travel basketball together, and just to see him and his development at St. Thomas, which is a really great school in Minnesota. Once he entered the portal, or said he was about to enter the portal, I reached out to him, and I kind of know his game fit the system of what we want to do here with Fred. So I just, you know, I reached out to him, and I'm really excited. He said that he already liked the team before, but I'm really excited that it actually happened, and now I'm going to have somebody from Minnesota here with me to cheer on the basketball side. You know, I was already cheering them out, but now it's like somebody you grew up playing with, man. It just means a lot for him to come in here and be from Minnesota, too, so shout out Minnesota.
As the main recruiter for him?
Yeah, I talked to him actually like last week, and, you know, I was just telling him more than the most important part for me was just making sure Kendall's a good person. You know, he's a good person, so it's not just the basketball part. I told him he's getting a great guy and a great person, so that was an important part.
And Coach Rhule came in here and said just the progress that he's seen out of Dylan. Obviously, you guys have spent a lot of time together this offseason. What growth have you seen from him?
Yeah, Dylan's turning into a veteran quick. He's being a really good coach for some of the other quarterbacks, and I'll say the game is slowing down for him too. And so he's took that next step of, you know, knowing what to do, but now like knowing what to do and coaching others and making sure they're doing everything right. So he's took that leadership role, and I'm really excited to get going with him this season.
This Saturday is going to be pretty untraditional. You know, fans are used to just a regular red-white scrimmage. What's your pitch to the fans to come up and see you guys this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, man, if you love Nebraska football, I would come out and support, man. We're out here working. You know, some of the guys, I'm glad Coach is letting some of the guys that don't usually get the chance to, you know, play because it takes everybody, and everybody wants the opportunity to go out there and play. So it's a really special chance for fans to come out and support us, and I'm going to be out there, you know, having a fun time. But just if you're excited for Nebraska football this year, you should be there on Saturday. It's going to be really, really fun.
Anything else for that?
Yep. Appreciate y'all.